Hi there, it's Mary Sheila Ganella of Occidental Nutrition, the only MSG that's good for your diet. And thanks for watching. I want to share with you today lung support for the fall, especially if you've been affected by any wildfire smoke, or maybe you live in a polluted area or the air quality hasn't been great. And in the fall, it's very dry and it is windy and the wind carries a lot of things around. And fall, it's also, we're having these shorter days, it's getting cold, it's cold and flu season beginning, people are getting sick. You don't want to be one of them. You're probably, if you have kids, they've just started school and you are running around, waking up earlier. It's a little more stressful. Maybe there's sports after school, right? So it's a whole thing that you got to get used to, and maybe you're feeling a little bit low. So I want to share some remedies with you to support your lungs, especially, like I said, if you've been affected by wildfires at all this season. And the first thing that I want to say is to make sure you get enough sleep. We're going to turn back the clocks, and that is a really important time to make sure we get more sleep. There's longer nights and shorter days, so that's a time to recharge the body. So, use that to your advantage. And when you do use that to your advantage, sometimes we might still be in the rhythm of getting home and starting dinner from scratch. This is a great time to plan ahead. It is colder, it is drier, and it is it is what we call in Ayurveda the Vata time of year. So you really do want to do the opposite. We always want to do the opposite. So warm, wet food in a bowl is going to be your support system. So make soups and stews and pots of beans or whatever, so it's super easy to come home, maybe after sports or after work or whatever, or working out, whatever, and just warm something up. You're going to be so thankful that you did that. So it might be a little more meal prep on the weekends or something like that. A few things around just a couple of more things around the lungs and around this dry time of year. One is you can oil your body. And I actually have a really great little whole protocol that I'd love to share with you. So at the end of this video, after you watch it, you can go to I'll put a link here too, but you can go to my website and you can send me a message that says lung protocol, and I will send it to you through my dispensary. And so I'll have all the notes from what I'm talking about, and also the different supplements that I'm going to be talking about, the ones that I recommend. So anyways, getting enough sleep, oiling your body. If your skin is dry, if you feel more constipated, then the fall is getting to you. The dry time of year is getting to you. So you want to focus on hydration. You want to oil your body. So on my protocol, I list the different kinds of oils depending on how you're feeling that you can add to your body. And I love using food grade oils, right? When we have a baby, we say, don't put anything on the baby's skin that you wouldn't put into their mouth. And my question is like, when do we graduate from that? Why do we graduate from that? We should be putting pure food grade stuff on our own body and skin. So those are what I recommend there. The other thing you could do, especially if you really feel like a lot of the debris or particulates from the smoke has gotten into your sinuses or into your lungs, one thing you could do is the neti pot. So the neti pot is pretty simple, and again, this is all in my protocol, but you would just put about 1/4 of a teaspoon, using a good ocean or mountain salt is going to be better than just like a plain white table salt. That's going to burn a little bit more, with purified water. So you want either distilled water or boiled water. This is you really want to be careful with that. But what you do is you'd fill this up with warm water and let the salt dissolve. And I'm just going to do a little tiny demo, but you would just put this in your nose. Once you get it in your nose, you'd lean over the sink, and then you turn like this, and then you turn, whoops, I just washed it, there's a little water, sorry. Then you turn like this, and then you turn the pot, and then you just let the water actually roll through your sinuses. It shouldn't be too hot, you don't want to burn yourself. And the salt, when you add the salt, it'll actually feel good. And the action of salt is to liquefy things. So it will kind of liquefy and allow things like, viruses or bacteria or dust or mucus to move through the sinuses and not get stuck there because it's dry. So when things are dry, they don't move the same way. Just like if a creek is really dry, it's not going to move the same way. And if you do feel like your sinuses are really dry, you can also use what's called a nausea oil. And this one comes from actually Banyan Botanicals. And it's an oil, again, food grade oils. And you could just put with a little bit of essential oil and some other oils in there. You can look them up on their website, Banyan Botanicals. And you could probably even look up how to make your own. I don't have that video yet, but that's a good idea. But you would just lay down and put a couple drops in your nose, and you can kind of sniff it up, and it'll just hydrate and moisten your sinuses if they're really dry, because it is really dry right now for a lot of us. Another thing that you could do is, if the air quality is bad, is stay inside a little bit more, and you can also get an air purifier. And I always recommend get one before there's any fire or anything like that, so you have it, because those are the kinds of things that sell out really quick. And houseplants, I have a little trouble keeping houseplants. I'm a really good gardener outside, but my houseplants inside, yeesh. But spider plants are some of the best ones, and I think the philodendrons are also really good, but they're great at cleaning out the air. So now I want to get specific onto some of the nutrients when you're exposed to smoke and all the particulate and things that are in there. What happens is when we breathe it in, we have the endothelial lining. That's like the lining on any surface in the body. So all of our blood vessels have an endothelial lining. It's like what the blood is touching, and it's like what the air touches right when it comes in. And so when there's all those particulates, that endothelial lining is going to start releasing more inflammatory molecules and immune molecules, and to try to take care of all of that. So all that particulate creates some inflammation, and then all of our antioxidant stores come to help to try to bring that inflammation down. So essentially we end up using up a lot of our antioxidant stores and we also end up having more inflammation that then moves throughout the body, moves throughout the blood, and it can pose as a bit of a cardiac risk factor. So it's important to know, well, what can I do to actually support my lungs in that way, and the body overall if I'm breathing this in. And it's like, I don't have a choice unless I leave. So there's a few nutrients, and I'm gonna just list them. And again, if you get the protocol, I have everything listed with amounts and all that. But folic acid, B6, and B12 are 3 nutrients that have been studied that really show that it protects the body from some of those particulates and lowers the inflammation. So if you have B vitamins in your cupboard, this is a great time to take them. If you need to get more, then it might be a good time for that too. But you get those Bs, you get the folic acid and the B6 from proteins and greens and beans and nuts and seeds, and then you get B12 just from animal proteins and dairy and eggs. So there's, you always want to think about food too. And then the other thing that helps lower inflammation and decreases that effect of the particulates, particularly on the heart, is omega-3s. So if you have an omega-3 supplement, great time to start taking it again. I recommend taking it in the morning, because then you have more bile salts coming out, we're with your first meal, whenever that is, but then you have more bile salts coming out to help you break that down. And if you eat fish and seafood, that's a great way to get it too. And low on the food chain is always good, less toxins, and just better for our sustainability. Vitamin C and vitamin E. So vitamin C is excellent. You could take, you could take it multiple times throughout the day. If you have a respiratory illness or asthma, vitamin C is excellent. So like 500 milligrams multiple times a day. It's great when I put one in there that's mixed with quercetin, because quercetin is very specific on the lungs. Onions are high in quercetin. Pears are good for the lungs. This is time of year of pears, so apples and pears. But fresh fruits and vegetables are going to be high in vitamin C. And then vitamin E, also found in fresh like avocados and olive oil. Both of those are kind of susceptible to heat, so when you eat those things fresh, you're better off that way. Then there's something called sulforaphane, and that really helps the body to detoxify all of those contaminants that are coming in the body. You can take a supplement, but I really recommend just eat a lot of brassica cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and arugula and bok choy and cabbage, etc. Broccoli sprouts are probably like the number one, so you can even sprout broccoli seeds. Super easy and kind of inexpensive once you get the seeds. So, wash them good if you're harvesting them from your garden still. And then there's another thing called N-acetylcysteine, or NAC for short, and that actually can directly reduce lung inflammation. So we don't actually, we can't, we don't find NAC in foods, but those B vitamins and vitamin C kind of help us to make the NAC. So that's a good way to get that. And then, again, like it's dry, so warm, wet foods in the bowl. And I'm in my protocol, I have a great broth recipe if you're interested in that. And let's see, do I want to say anything else? I think that's the main thing. So those are nutrients that have been studied that actually show lung inflammation. And also the other thing I would say is anything to calm your nervous system. So adaptogens are excellent. And I did put something in there, a nice adaptogenic lung blend. And yeah, and just take good care of yourself, get good sleep, drink lots of tea, just really be gentle because, if you are experiencing a lot of smoke, that's stressful for the system with every breath. If you had to evacuate, like I did, it's kind of scary and unsettling and very stressful. And I actually had to evacuate by myself because my husband and my daughter are both volunteer fighter fighters in my community. So it was kind of scary. Anyway, if you, I'm putting this on YouTube, so if you like this and you want to subscribe to my channel, I'll have more great recommendations as I go forward. And I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe out there, everybody. Thanks.